Assalamu alaikum friends. I hope you all are well and enjoying learning with language and linguistics. We are going to talk about introduction to pragmatics. This one is the second lecture. In our previous lecture, we have discussed definition, pragmatics versus semantics, and pragmatics versus syntax. And in this lecture, we will talk about context, Dixies, reference, and interference. Context is an important concept in pragmatics. From a relative theory, a neutral point of view, context is defined as referring to any relevant features of the dynamic setting or environment in which a linguistic item is systematically used. We have three kinds of context. First one, physical, second, linguistic, and the final one is general knowledge, or you can say relevant context. Physical context refers to the physical setting of the utterance. For example, building of school with signboard and the word written on its school is called physical context. Second one is the linguistic context, that is also called co-text. And co-text is the set of other words used in the same phrase or sentence. The surrounding co-text has a strong effect on what we think the word probably means. Last one is general knowledge. General knowledge is the background information, and general knowledge context is also called relevant context. That is our mental representation of those aspects of that is physical out there, and we use in arriving at an. Let's have a look on different examples of all three contexts. First one is the physical context. That is the location with phrases. The word bank written on the wall of a building in a city shows the physical location of the word because its influence or interpretation that it's sort of financial building. However, linguistic context is the combination of co-text, and steep or overgrown bank shows that it's different from the bank that is financial in its function. She has to get to the bank to withdraw some cash shows the financial sort of nature of this bank. Next one is general knowledge context. General knowledge is the background knowledge or the relevant context that influence the reader's or listener's mind to make the form and sentence pragmatically well or ill. For example, I went to Beijing last month. The Forbidden City was magnificent. Pragmatically, this sentence is well formed because Forbidden City is in China. In contrast, I went to Paris last month. The Forbidden City was magnificent is sort of ill-formed sentence because Paris is not the city with Forbidden City. So, Forbidden City is in Beijing or China, not in Paris. So, this sentence is pragmatically ill-formed. Dixies is second important concept in pragmatics. This term is borrowed from Greek word for pointing and indicating, or you can say pointing while language is called Dixies. It's used for demonstrative first and second person pronoun, specific time, place of adverb, and variety of other grammatical features tied directly to the circumstances of an utterance. We have three important kinds of Dixies: person, special, and temporal. Person Dixies, using words for pointing to a person or thing with language. Dixies used to point people are him, them, those, idiots. Dixies to point to things are it, this, or these boxes. Next one is special. Words and phrases used to point to location are called special Dixies. For example, here, there, near, or near that are examples of special Dixies. Next one is temporal. Words or phrases used to point to time are temporal Dixies, like no, then, last week are examples of temporal Dixies. Reference and interference is the final concept we will discuss in this lecture. But first, have a look what is reference. Reference is an act by which a speaker or writer uses language to enable a listener or reader to identify something or to perform an act of reference. Proper noun like Chomsky, Jennifer, other noun phrase, writer, my friend, the cat, or pronoun he, she, it are used. Words identify someone or something unique, but for each word or phrase, there's range of reference. The words Jennifer, friend, or she can be used to refer to many entities in the world. Different references are also used to refer to things when we are not sure what to call them, like the blue thing and that icy kind of stuff. We can even invent names. For instance, there was a man who always drove his motorcycle fast and loud through my neighborhood and was locally referred to as Mr. Honda 125. In this case, a brand name for a motorcycle is being used to refer to a person. This is the example of reference. After reference, we have important concept that is inference. An inference is additional information used by the listener to create a connection between what is said and what must be meant by the listener or reader. A successful act of reference depends more on the listener's ability to recognize what we mean than on the listener's dictionary knowledge of what a word we use. For example, in a restaurant, one waiter can ask another, Waiter 1, where is the spinach salad sitting? And this is the inference of the waiter 2 who replies, is sitting by the door. Let's suppose if you are a linguist and ask another one, can I look at your Chomsky? Second linguist replies, sure, it's on the shelf over there. These examples make it clear that we can use names associated with things, salad to refer to people, and use names of people like Chomsky to refer to things. The key process here is called inference. Picasso is in the museum and we saw Shakespeare in London. Here, in these sentences, we have a beautiful example of reference and inference. Let's have a look on important points of this lecture. Context in pragmatics is relevant feature, environment or setting show why language or linguistic item. Physical context refers to physical setting with signboard or linguistic item like building of school. Linguistic context is called context where words or phrases are used like going to bank for cash withdrawn or grassy bank. Relevant context is general or background information of the listener or reader, like Rohtas Fort is splendid historical building while traveling in Rawalpindi. Posting or pointing via language is called Dixies, or adverb of person, place, and times are also called Dixies. Reference is an act by which a speaker uses language to enable a listener to identify something like Islamabad in relation to Beijing. Inference is an additional information to create connection between utterance and meaning and depends on listener's ability to recognize information according to the context. Like if husband says, I'm getting late and the wife replies, saloon is closed today. Here, inference is important because it depends entirely on the context.